We're joined by Terry. How are you doing, Terry?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. What you on with?
Looking super summery, pal.
Super. Yeah. I've just ran this morning and been on a bike. I'm shattered. Uh, feel good though. On the water, Terry, giving it the big one, but by about 8 o'clock tonight, I'll probably be pissed up.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mate. Water's intoxicating.
Yeah,
I might go for a run later.
we all start off on a Monday, don't we? Saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna go for it this week," and then by Monday night, we're like, "Ugh."
See, I start slow. Like I start slow. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are my real days for getting stuff done. But Monday, I'm just like, ugh.
Have you seen that Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome?
Now I always find those films odd. Like I've never been a Mad Max fan. Not really a Mel Gibson fan, to be honest.
I watched that last night. What a load of pony, man.
Well, there you go. I could have saved you the
It's
hassle.
the £3 on internet, isn't it?
Mate, since he got ripped off.
Well, there's only one place to start, Terry, and that is Crusher Ben against Eubank Jr. What did you make of it all? I've got a few bullet points. I sent you over.
Great night, 10 out of 10. I think boxing was a massive winner on Saturday night. And you know what? There'll be people in the sport who try and be clever. You know, the normal sort of knob jockeys who will try and find holes to poke in it. But we haven't had a more impactful event. I think we've had better in ring fights in terms of people slugging it out in the ring. But I can't think of an event where, as an audience, like emotional, like heartstrings were pulled, mate. Like they pulled every kind of emotion in us. If you think about it, like the father son relationship. I'm sure there were dads watching that with their son, and when senior stepped out, they could just relate that feeling of I'd want to be there if it was my son. All that sort of stuff, mate. The nostalgia, the tension, the whole thing around the weight, etc., etc. Look, part of it was real, part of it was well planned, and I don't know 100% what was what, but mate, boxing won on Saturday night, and I think that should be the overarching message. Boxing won. There is no negative about Saturday night, none at all.
Yeah. Apart from Eddie Hill spoiling it afterwards, talking
I mean,
about
what happens
them.
after happens after, but that event, like for the money they spent, they got their money's worth.
Mhm. Uh, I don't know what order I've got this in. Commentary. A lot of people in comment section on my channel and in emails are saying, and people who phone me, they're saying it we're all pro Ben, from Macklin to Andy Clark to Bean, Super
Mate,
Bean,
I've lost you.
Super Bean, Darren Barker, Macklin, Andy Clark, Sky and Dazone, Tony Bellew. Can you hear me now? Have you lost me again?
Yeah, yeah, we're all good now.
Yeah. Sky, Andy Clark, Macklin. Then you've got Super Bean at Dazone, Tony Bellew, Darren Barker. They're all pro Ben, weren't they, really? Do you think Chris Eubank Jr. were up against it from the ring size, the gloves, the rehydration, the referee? Do you think he were up against everything, Chris Eubank?
No. So here's what I think. One, I think he made weight. I think the coming in
I
point
said
for
that,
him.
didn't I?
Yeah. I think he made weight. I think the weight cut was horrible, by the way. I think he made weight, but I think it still had an effect on him. Um, it was always going to be in his favor just because he's a bigger guy, and he's basically a bigger guy hitting a smaller guy versus a smaller guy hitting a bigger guy.
Yeah.
So that was always going to go that way. When people say the commentary was bad, I get it. I think Andy Clark had a bad day at the office. That doesn't mean he's a bad commentator, but Andy Clark's more of a details guy. Like he's a pure play by play guy. But the main event didn't need that. The main event needed emotion. Like if you're the audience, you want to know how you're supposed to feel. What are the audience feeling? Like I can see the stuff in the ring. It's fine. I need to know the other stuff. And I thought, and I've kind of gone back and had to watch the DAZN coverage. I thought Adam Smith did a really good job. And that's why we need Adam Smith in boxing
Let
for
me
nights
just
like
say,
that.
let me just say, Adam Smith, he could make two spiders climbing up the wall into an exciting race, couldn't he?
But that's what you need, Raz.
A
For
cacophony of noise. Welcome to the
yeah,
Blue Ribbon Division. Prepared for takeoff, Johnny.
yeah. No, but for example, right, if you've got Vidal Riley versus Chev Clark,
Oh,
that's an Andy Clark sort of fight because he can talk about what these guys have done in their amateur career. He can talk about what they're going to do next and all this, that, and the third. But when it's a main event between the sons of two legends, I kind of know what I need to know. Do you know what I mean? I need that extra layer of pizzazz, which Adam Smith brought. Now, Darren Barker's just a tag along for me. I think Bellew's decent on comms, but I thought the Sky lot had a shocker. It was just a weak performance. And I don't like saying that because I like Andy Clark. It was just not what was needed.
Matt Macklin, what did you make of his licking?
I thought I thought he tried to be too serious at a time where we didn't need you to be serious. We needed you to get into the moment, and none of the Sky lot seemed able to get in the moment. They had no charisma. That's how I describe it. The Sky commentary had no charisma.
Yeah, they couldn't come on here and hang with us, could they, that lot?
Yeah, but I don't think we could commentate on boxing either, mate.
Hey, listen. When Big Ron offered me that gig, what did I say to you for Fight Zone? Give it Terry, because I'll say something you'll regret, Dennis.
Yeah, well, I didn't last very long, did I?
Well, you did two gigs, didn't you?
Ish. Yeah.
Ish. Well,
Well, it's odd when I saw who I was replaced with. I was like, this doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
Max is doing it, I've heard.
Good luck to him. I
Yeah.
mean, I wish him all the best.
Well, he's got a posh accent, Annie Max, and he's from Downey, so he should be up his street, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Good old Maxi. Uh, Fighters slipping, Terry, on the canvas. I noticed they're slipping on where the right and the sponsors were, and where, that Fatal Fury and all that. But Macklin and Andy Clark were saying, "Oh yeah, it's the new boots and all that. New boots don't slip." So and then when everybody else started doing it, they went, "Oh yeah, it's the canvas." They should pick up on that, shouldn't they? Come on.
Well, so the fighters should have picked up on it. So, for example, like I always tell people, get out into that ring as early as you can and move around it. Mainly because you want to know how many steps it is from the middle to the ropes,
Yeah.
right? So you don't have to look to see where the ropes are. But if they'd stood on it, they would have been like, hold on, this isn't painted in. I don't know if it was like sort of
It would look like a transfer, didn't it?
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Look like a vinyl transfer, and that which is disastrous. You don't want that. Not even for the humidity, mate. Just for the sweat that's
An
going to be
event
flowing
like
off you.
that, and they've got a pony ring canvas. You couldn't make that up, could you?
No, someone needs to get a slap for that because that ankles can break in that situation. Do you know what I mean,
Yeah.
Russ?
Yeah. Did English steal the show, aka Chris Eubank Senior?
100%,
Did you
one
see
hundred percent.
Ben's when they were looking up at the thing? They were like, that's when you know the game's up in it.
That's one of the greatest moments I've seen in boxing. Like I knew he was coming, and even I had a tear in my eye because I didn't know they were going to do it that well.
Yeah.
Like the detail that's gone into just that moment. You pull up with your son in the Cullinan, and the only reason that it resonated with me was that looks like the same Cullinan that was parked outside Churchill's during their camp. Because I saw that there was always a black Cullinan out there with a black G-Wagon. And then occasionally you'd have Scott Welch pull up. I think he's got a Land Rover Defender with F11GHT on it. Legend. I don't know if I was meant to say that in public. Sorry, Scott. So, yeah, even though I was like, he's coming, just seeing him show up there, it was the missing piece in the whole thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Uh, this is all in a different order, but we'll still get through it. Crusher said afterwards, when he was looking like Nucky Bay, he had one eye in Essex and one in Yorkshire. Crusher said, "Oh, I've been out 14 months, Anna." Eubank was out 19 months and you put weight clauses on him and he were in a ring size that he's not used to and different gloves and all that carry on and so he shouldn't be crying over the 14-month carry on. They left Eubank hanging 19 months because of his drug issues. So I don't think that's an excuse really. He's had long enough, hasn't he?
Uh, Mate, you and I talked about this. You can eat your way up to middleweight as much as you want, but that extra weight's not conditioned. Do you see what I mean? He there's he had to go through that to be like, number one, what am I going to box like when I'm heavier than I'm used to being? And number two, I'm having to take bigger shots in 10-ounce gloves than I'm used to. So all of that stuff would have got to him. He says it's inactivity. I'm just like, mate, that's what happens when you fight bigger guys. You just
Was his timing out, Crushers? Yes or no?
His distance management was out. He kept hopping in and out miles, and that's why
That's what his
like
old man used to do, though, didn't he?
but his old man,
That crouching style,
but
trying to
but
make
his
him
old
stand smaller.
no, but his old man did it from such a young age that he figured out how to do it well.
Yeah.
Whereas Conor was like, mate, you'd watch him like he'd throw like a big left hook and then he'd leap about 10 foot back. You're like, mate, you got to go all that way back in again. Do you know what I mean? Just manage the distance. He suffers from not having a good jab. That's his big problem. He hasn't really got a good jab.
Mm. Eddie talking 158 for rematch. We had a little bit of a chat about that earlier in this video. I think they're just trying to get in first, and Eubank will say no 164, and I think they might if they do it. And I've now slept in it, and I don't think I want to see a rematch now. I've thought about it, and what possible what why would we want to see that again?
The only reason it will happen is people will want to cash in again. Like there's no other reason
Yeah.
apart from money. This is
Yeah.
one of those, right? If you're literally selling me a fight based on the fathers, you can't sell it to me again. Do you see what I mean? Go on, man,
Yeah.
let it out, Russ. Go on, there you go.
Right. I'm on CL 6000 crystal. I wish it was a proper crystal.
Yeah,
That's olden days. Did you see the press conference after?
yeah, I did with Nigel. Yeah,
Was you
oh, Conor,
embarrassed
sorry.
about the woman who spoke? Were it second or third? They gave her a few minutes, and I just wanted to say that that when people asked me and used to come where I was when this happened, I thought that were a bit cringe. Did you? It all seemed a bit staged as usual. You know, the favourites getting the questions, but I thought it was Mrs. asking questions at one point. So that's when I turned off after that. So I hadn't seen the
So,
rest of it. I've only picked up on what people screenshots people have sent me. But what did you think to after the
so I'm not gonna be too tough on her because that was a highly emotional night for us. Like when you talk to people who were there, whether it was people doing the videography, whether it was people doing the officiating, so the board officers, everyone was so emotional about that, which is what it was designed to do. Like there were people who admitted they cried. So you're gonna do silly things when your emotions are high. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not upset at her. Like if she does it in the Dubois Usyk fight, then I mean she'll get some criticism. But for this one, everyone acted outside of themselves.
What did you think to Spotty Frank Smith at the rules meeting, offering one of Eubank's team outside for a knock on car park? What did you think to that, Terry?
Why don't they ever do this when I show up? I
Because
mean,
you're a 17 stone ex-fighter and you deadlift 200 kilo and you'd probably put him through a fucking roof, wouldn't you?
225, Russ.
220. Oh, sorry, mate. So I once did a 180 at 10 and a half stone, Terry, which is good in it for a 10 and a half stone. But I've been in doing I think I'm about 3 years into my sentence then. All you do is just train then, don't you? But I'm
You
a
know, my
steady.
first ever deadlift, Russ, at
Oh,
18 was 160.
well, I don't lift like that. No, I like to go light. Step out,
Yeah,
kid.
I've got no choice now. But no, why doesn't when you see these guys, your Cougans and all these guys that talk tough to me in the messages and in the comments online, and then I show up, why doesn't anyone say let's go to the car park? Like, you know, please. I mean, I'm always there, man, always ready, mate. And I don't say that from a tough guy thing, just for the entertainment of it, man. Like, you know, Why is Frank picking on a guy who's probably old enough to be his dad? Why is he picking on him?
Why were Frank Smith even throwing his weight around? Frank Bone Crusher Smith.
But
Hey?
no, but let's come back to this whole thing about Saturday, because think about this, Russ. They're supposed to have us believe that the wife of the Matchroom CEO is going to allow her brother to be fined 500,000 for being 0.5 pounds over the weight limit.
£375,000 sterling, it says in Daily Mail today.
Yeah, we're supposed to believe that.
I didn't believe all that because all he failed, but we're in 89.6 grams, wasn't it? Over.
No, isn't it
But
like
yeah, a piss is
22.7?
125 grams, isn't it, on average for a fighter?
But it wasn't it. I thought it was like 22.7, because if you do the maths right, I
Right.
think the scales they use on the weigh-ins are
Whatever, he went
Seeker.
nothing, wasn't it? I mean, and Eddie said you're about right. If that's all they were over, and he had 2 hours to make it, he could have took that off in 2 hours, even if he were dry, couldn't he?
Yeah, and also you wouldn't have shown the weight cutting he was doing on video if it was real. You just wouldn't have shown that, because the board don't allow that.
Yeah.
Like, it's in the book. You're not allowed to do that.
All hype to get everybody to buy in, thinking, oh, Crusher's going to knock him out. They must think we're fucking stupid.
Well, no. It was what was needed, though. That's what was needed for this event. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. I'm genuinely okay with that, because it was the right kind of energy, and he still had to make 160, which is like, wow.
Okay, was it all hype like never before? Because we've got weight issues, Eggate, Slapgate, Pierce Morgan, rehydration, ring size gloves, Billy Joe's sausages. What do you think to that one?
Uh,
Billy Joe sausages, £220. Somebody said, what's that? I said 16 stone 10. I've checked, it's 15 stone 10, isn't it? That's a lot, isn't it? That.
yeah, that's just a lot of weight he's got to shift at his age.
He was saying he might be training with Simsers and that now, Billy Joe, and making another run at it. But I don't see that, do you?
He got to get the weight off first. Tony Sims is the sort of guy that you can't show up to him out of shape. He'll say, "Come to me when you're 13 stone, mate."
Yeah. What did you score it, Terry?
Didn't score it.
I scored it 7-5, but other people in industry who I respect scored it 8-4. Eubank, they were saying that the commentary weren't reporting on that Eubank picking him off with jab and that Crusher were missing me a lot. CompuBox proved that. So I could see 8-4, but
Yeah,
7-5, I'm happy with that.
8-4 feels fair. 9-3, if I was being super strict, 9-3 Eubank, and
Well, so
you can't
Tony
ever.
Bellew's saying it's a robbery. Well, what is all that?
Bizarre. Because here's the thing, Russ. You can't even go to CompuBox. And the reason you can't go to CompuBox is those punches aren't the same weight. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Bellew had it 8-4 Ben. I know, yeah, I know, yeah. Bellew, the Ian John Lewis of scoring. What
So
is
no, but here's the point I've been making for a long time.
well,
You can't keep saying that ex-fighters are the people best placed to talk about boxing on a TV screen. I don't believe they are, because look how often that they get stuff wrong and they miss stuff, but they assume that because they were in the ring, they can see it. But it's like, well, how often have you had to sit there and watch a fight and actually critically assess it? The people that should be commentating, in my opinion, are guys like Joe Gallagher,
yeah.
because Joe knows how to see a fight.
Hmm. Okay. The Saint Turkeys booked it for September, the Spurs Stadium, but that were booked before this fight happened. And people in the industry, we're not going to say who, but you know, are saying that's booked for Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. Do you more than agree with that? And they try and shove Crusher and Eubank as chief support?
Nah,
No,
nah,
if
you wouldn't.
they'd want to do Eubank and Crusher wouldn't have chief support, would they, after this show they just had, would they?
Nah, no chance.
So if
No,
that's booked for September, that's looking like it can only be Joshua and Fury, do you think?
I don't see it being Fury.
No? You know?
Nah.
Well, why
We're in
would they book
April
it? Well, who
now.
are they going to put in there then in September? Fabio Wardley and Miller rematch.
Wilder.
Wilder and Joshua.
I think they're going to find a way to warm
Well,
Wilder
that'd be
up for
two
this.
shot fighters, wouldn't it? Wilder and Joshua, wouldn't it?
Well, two shot fighters with Fury in there too. So why? Because look, Fury would have to be getting into camp the other side of the
Oh, shut this
second May bank
bastard.
holiday. Right? Oh, is he gone? Oh, here we go. What kind of chair is that though? I know he didn't pick that chair.
Huh?
Yeah, I know you didn't pick that chair, Russ.
I don't pick shit like that, mate. Me. I sit on straw, me, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, look, I don't see Tyson Fury being ready in time if it's September. I just don't. But if you said October or November, I'd believe that. But just there's too much for him to do now.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because he's not one of those guys who stays fit. Like Joshua stays fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Joshua can have those months out the ring, and then all he's really doing is sharpening up. Fury's got to get the weight off first.
Yeah. People's champion, Crusher Benn, he were booed into the ring. I didn't hear much cheering when he come out. But he's now the people's champion. It's all been about Crusher afterwards. The hype and, Eddie Hills, the 7-0 Iceman from Billericay, 5 by way of course, but no footage. The people's champion, is he the people's champion? I'm saying no, because he's not won a belt of any level. What do you think? Are you there, Terry?
Mate, I am your Wi-Fi is having a
Sorry,
shocker
mate.
today.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Oh, hang on, I've got my chair on. These chart. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. What was the question? Couldn't hear the question.
Oh, the question.
Is
Forgot.
Crusher the people's champ?
Yeah, the people's champion. Yeah, I'm saying he's not the people's champion because he's not won a belt of any level. Area English, British, Commonwealth. He's not won anything, has he? Yet?
No, he's not the people's champ, but I think he's won the respect of a lot of people.
Yeah,
You have to say he's tougher than we thought he was.
yeah, he's got cojones, hasn't
Yeah. And now he's got to go and earn that people's champion label. Now go and box at 154, go and box at 147, go and win some stuff now.
But we've got Eubank, right? Pushing 36, weight drained, shot to shit like Liam Smith. If you can't deal with him doing all that and ring size and gloves and all other stuff they've done to try and fry Eubank's head in, I don't think he's ever going to be a world champion. And they're talking Barrios and Boots Ennis and at 147 and that. If Conor Benn goes down to 147, I reckon he gets lit up. I do.
Um, Only by the best though. Like, the thing is, like, if we're talking about fighting Boots Ennis, you're talking about a guy who might go a long way undefeated.
Yeah.
So let's have some perspective on where Conor should start his 147 journey. He should be fighting the guys like Echo Esserman, right?
Yeah.
He should be fighting the guys like Josh Taylor. Let
Could
him
have
have
fought
those
Chris
fights.
Conger, couldn't he?
Hmm?
He could have fought Chris Conger 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, but we go in the here and now. If Conor's serious at 147, fight Josh Taylor if he beats Echo Esserman. Do that.
Yeah, we'll come to Josh Taylor in a minute. The matchmaking for Crusher's career, fighting guys like Algieri, who were 19 months inactive, and Chris Van Eden, dug up from City Road Cemetery, Sheffield. Guys like that, I don't think he's good matchmaking to bring him on. I think it's matchmaking for Conor Benn to be a manufactured fighter. And that's all he's been manufactured. He's not been brought on correctly. With matchmaking. Do you agree with that, Terry?
Yeah, I don't think the matchmaking's been great, but I don't think he's been well.
To earn money, but I don't think he's learned his craft, has he really?
But that's what's going on in the gym. Is he really being taught the right things in the gym?
Well, they all seem to want to hang around Sims lot, don't they? Because they've got Eddie's hero, haven't they? And they're up his arsehole. That's how I look at it. Everybody's eating off Crusher, aren't they? Old man Tony Sims, Charlie Sims, and God knows who else has got got the clause of
Who's the American guy? Remember Danny Jacobs is our manager.
I don't know.
He's involved.
Yeah, there's that Usman. He were all over his Insta at one point, wasn't he?
That's a long time ago now.
Well, nobody mentions him now, do they? No YouTubers or media guys are mentioning why you've got this Usman in background. Nobody's mentioning anything. You know what? The media. I'm off on one again here, aren't I? The media are an absolute shambles, mate. An absolute shambles. Gareth A. Davis, Juggies Oliver, Judge Jordan, the Talksport trio. Absolutely embarrassing. I'm calling for them to be sacked and put on dole.
Why?
Because they're just not asking proper questions and not doing the jobs.
What questions are they supposed to ask?
I want them to stick it to him and say, right, 274-page dossier, you're going to show us it. There's scientific evidence that proves you're innocent. Where is it?
Who cares anymore?
I care.
No, I think we're at the point now where we realize the problem's not Conor Benn. If the problem was Conor Benn, he'd have been banned. So there's something more rotten that's going on here, and it's got nothing to do with Conor Benn. That should be the line of inquiry. We should be asking UKAD how someone fails VADA tests twice and doesn't get banned. This isn't a Conor Benn problem at this point. This is a UKAD problem. And that's why I don't mind them not asking Conor these questions, because I don't think it's his business now. You see what I mean, Russ?
Mm.
Like, there's a massive UKAD problem, because now when we hear VADA testing, it doesn't mean anything. You see what I mean? So basically, they've eliminated VADA from being anything of value now. And the question is why? And it can't be the boxing side of things, because we're still paying for VADA testing. So we don't have a problem with VADA. Someone else must do. And it has to be UKAD. That's the question. Let's get whoever's in charge of UKAD, get them in the studio with Simon Jordan, and Jordan has to ask them, why wasn't he banned?
Yeah.
Why don't you take VADA tests seriously? What are they doing that you're not?
Okay. Robert Smith, aka the captain of the ship for the border control, 18 year now. How do you think he comes out of this now? Because when he had it put on him on Talksport and in various interviews, all he said is he can't answer. He's not allowed to talk about anything. But yet Conor Benn is licensed now on a boxing border control license. So is he doing his job, or is he having to stick to what the lawyers are saying?
So legally, and this is in the statute, all the anti-doping is out of his hands. He can't ban Conor Benn for doping offences if the National Anti-Doping Panel don't ban him. So that's all outsourced. All he does is administer the ban that's given.
Would he have been unbearable, Terry, if he'd have won Crusher?
I think he'd have been the same way. I think once there's no need for the bravado and stuff, I think Conor would have just been the same way, like just a good kid from a good family. Do you know what I mean? That's what we saw on Saturday night. Two good kids with good upbringings from a good family. That's it.
Two privately educated kids, aren't they, really?
Yeah.
Duke McKenzie's come out on that Coppers channel, PC Gully from Rotherham, and said, and I quote, Crusher Ben mugged himself off, or Conor Benn mugged himself off after all his predictions and didn't deliver.
I thought he did deliver. Maybe Duke's Duke, and Duke has his own views. I thought he delivered. I don't know what you expect a welterweight moving up to light middle, moving up to middle to do against someone.
He's been a light middle 3 year, Terry.
But not a big light middle. Just like a lazy light. Like, you know, when like you get some kids and they'll box most of their amateur career in the weight class above, and then they'll come into championships and drop weight into their fighting weight. So he wasn't a big 154. He's not even a big 160, mate. What did he weigh in at? 156.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Do you feel sorry for Callum Howland in all this? Because he's been very quiet and not said anything, and he's not been very complimentary. Do you think it's because he's on the outside looking in and he's not got a slice of the cake?
Well, mate, deliver for your fighter. That's how you keep your fighters. You deliver for them. Shalom delivered.
Yeah, Eubank can't stand Callum now, can they? They've had some back and forth, haven't they?
But yeah, well, look, you've got, in my eyes, the second most popular British boxer right now, okay? And you've had him for a number of years. What big fights has Khaled delivered for Eubank Jr.? None.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. I absolutely agree. Callum Sauerland. I think he's lost his way a little bit. He got involved with that Misfits, hasn't he, and stuff like that. I mean, what happened to Mickey Theo and Big Joe Egan? It were all done and dusted and going on Misfits. What's happening with that, Terry? Is it just Fantasy Island waffle?
Just two irrelevant people trying to get a payday. I mean, it's like watching, what's his name? Danny Connors trying to fight that Michael Devine, and they want to do it on some kind of pay per view. It's like nobody cares. Boxing's not a sport that does, like, we don't do nostalgia well unless you're like a Ben or a Eubank. No one cares about like guys who won the Masters title 10 years ago. We don't care, man. Just get out the sport, man.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Do you want to go on to part two, Terry?
Yeah, no worries, mate.
See you on part two. Thanks for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. Please join us on part two. When I'm gonna let him rip. Pop, pop, bang. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as I've just said. Right, and get behind the Pocky Express. Big shout out to Canada Bob, Canada's boxing channel, and Andy's Cavern, YouTube. Pop, pop, bang.